Hello everybody, welcome back to Scrapcraft and Stitchery. I'm Christina, and today I just finished sewing together my idea book. And this is something that I started back in the beginning, the very early part of December or the end of November, right when everything is kind of starting to get crazy for the holidays. And so I put together signatures for this book then, and I have that video out. And then I went into December and posting videos for that, and this kind of got set aside. And so this last week I've been working on covering this book, and it kind of came out a little bit artsy and a little bit fun. And I chose to make this out of a product box and that I've been saving. So I've broke into my stash for this, and as I was gathering materials, I decided to cover this with a masterboard that I had made previously. And so because I really loved this image and I thought it would be great for a journal cover, and this, I could maybe add a title here or something for this. That would be great. But the spine of this book, I wanted to choose something that was going to allow me to fill this book with lots of pockets and envelopes and do a lot of decorating in the pages of this book. And so I chose to do this soft spine, and I created this. I was worried that if I used like I thought about using a padded envelope, but I felt like that would just add a lot of bulk by itself. And so what I've done is I created this spine by layering, this is just a piece of scrapbook paper that I have distressed, and I made these, as I was distressing, it made these cool holes where I was able to do some like peek throughs of different things. And I just sewed together layers of scrapbooking paper and this tissue paper that I have stamped on. And inside of here are some coffee filters, but you could use a piece of fabric or something that would be really very sturdy to give it a little bit of sturdiness. And I am going to show you how I made this, the cover for the signatures, which I already completed in another video. And I've sewn it all together with a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, which is kind of a new thing for me. So as I was sewing this together, I remembered that I'm really working on kind of doing some slow crafting, slowing down, and really enjoying what I'm doing and taking my time with this. So, and I want to share that with you and show you how I made this. And so settle in and let's get started. Here's where I'm at now. I have assembled these signatures for my idea book previously. You can find how I chose papers and get some ideas for papers for your signatures in another video. Hopefully all of this has worked, and I have already shown you the finished product prior to this, but just to flip through these really quickly, this is just like a light cardstock scrapbooking, double-sided scrapbooking paper, and this one in particular I have stitched along the edges, some stenciled coffee dyed paper. This is a piece of paper from a notebook that's for doing music composition, so it's got a music scale on it. Coloring book pages, again, repeating this. I just kind of chose a lot of these things. Like, this is just a plain piece of coffee dyed paper. The idea is I'm going to put pockets and things in here and prototypes of things so that when I come back, hopefully this is the first of many idea books that I'm making. This is a piece of book page that I just disassembled the book. This was from a bird guide. Here I have sewn a piece of seam binding onto this coloring book page. Here I have sewn a piece of belly, I've glued on and then stitched on a piece of jelly print paper, because I really like this sometimes where you can kind of get it, so I don't know. You get this really cool collage effect sometimes. I don't know if I've really captured it with this piece, but that's okay. Graph paper, pocket made out of a doily that I've inked already, some more decorative stitching from my sewing machine on this page. I might cover this where I've torn that, and I might leave it and just let it be grungy. I don't know. This is my idea book. It's just a place for me to record ideas and things like that. So those are the kinds of things that are in here. And again, I will link, hopefully this is part of a series of making an idea book and adding to an idea book. I'm making a cover today, which hopefully you've already seen. I'm hoping that this works, but I was looking for this idea of an expandable spine and found something different, so I'm gonna go with something different. So I have this master board that I'm going to use to cover this, but and I got out all of my master boards, and I liked the idea of using this master board because these are things that I made. So I think for using in an idea book in particular, these are things that I make and then I sometimes just set aside. I picked this one because I like the idea of having this stencil on the cover maybe. And I just, like I said, having something that I've made as part of the idea book was what appealed to me with this. So I'm using this box, okay? And what I could do is just leave it like this. And sometimes I make journals like this. So I just get a box, and if you don't have, like this happens to be a Lego substitute box, but because that's what I have, because my partner builds these things, and is building an entire another planet in the downstairs bedroom, which is very super cool. But this is why, is because this spine is only, I mean, these signatures would go in there, but they're not going to leave any kind of space for expansion. So I was looking for something that would allow expansion. This year, it's 2026 right now, we're just starting. It's the first Monday of 2026 when I'm filming this part of this. I don't know if I'll finish this tonight, and that's okay. So I kind of want to slow the pace of my videos a little bit. So I'm going to start doing one live a week, and then doing, this should be 6 inches across. Hold on. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this. I'm just trying to bring you more concise videos that are more like tutorials, something interesting. I just don't want to have to be rushing through things. I want to do nice videos, quality videos for you if I'm showing something that are going to give you ideas. So I think this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are 6, and if I make it exactly 6, that's going to give me just about, it looks like, oh my gosh, what is that? Like, this is, about 1/4 of an inch. This is about 1/4 of an inch right here that's going to be extra if I make that 6. So that's what I'm going to do, and I might just leave these as tall as they are, and I just need to cut down this to 6 inches, because if I make this 6 inches, this looks like I would think this is exactly 6 inches, but it certainly looks like it's not quite 6 inches. And I'm not going to question how it got to be that way. I am just going to say, so that'll give me a little bit more, about 1/4 of an inch, it looks like. Let's do it. I'm going to cut 2 of these that are, I guess this is 9 probably by 6, and that is so that my signature will fit in there with just a little bit of clearance, and it doesn't have to be the same. There's probably a little bit more here on this side. First thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to cover these, and I do think, as I was saying, I kind of like this stencil, and this is a stencil from Stencil Girl Products. So I'm going to stencil this, and then because this is a cover, I'm probably going to add some medium to this on the outside, just to make sure that like all of these little things that can come up are like glued down really good, so they're not going to get caught on anything and torn off. So I'm going to do that next and prepare these covers. And to do that, first thing I want to do, I suppose, is kind of cut this master board down. What I would normally do if I didn't want this one particular piece centered on here is I would just cut this into strips without paying attention. But because I've put this stencil and used it to make this, and I could just kind of cut this here and make the most of my master board, I'm going to cut this kind of fussy cutting, and I can make this piece over here into tags, but I'm gonna try and get that as centered where I want it as I can, and evenly, of course. And I do want to leave maybe an inch, maybe a 1/2 inch, probably a 1/2 inch is good enough. 1/2 inch is fine. So maybe that's what I want to do, is measure this. Okay, let's use this because it's just easier to see what's going on. So I'm just going to kind of make some marks where I want to cut this. Hopefully that I can see at 1/2 inch, because that should give me plenty to put this on there. So now I can cut this, and I'm just going to go ahead because I already have this out and use that same method. So that's there. Did we do one there? I can't even see. Oh, darn. Maybe. I think that's right there. Now since I have it lined up over here, I want to do, that's a 1/2 inch, and I need to measure it at 1 inch here. So I have it lined up at 1 inch out. And I'm just going to go over this one last time because it's a little bit harder to see on these papers. And I broke my pencil, and we'll see if I can get this to work. So I can actually cut this in something like the right spot. It doesn't have to be exact for this, but it would be nice if it was, you know, straight and straight, and you know, I don't want to make too many mistakes because then I wind up doing a lot of this over. So I'm gonna just I have it near where it's supposed to be. I do want to use the same master board, of course, to make the back cover. So I want to leave enough for that, which should be plenty. And the rest of this, I mean, I do want to save to make tags and things. Hopefully we'll have some left, which we can put right back into our idea book, I would imagine. Ooh. So that looks really good. This is not the most exciting, honestly, piece of masterboard. It's really just this one kind of paper with some stenciling on it and some dictionary page. So, I mean, you know, not terrible, not great. This definitely needs to be kind of fixed. But we can use this now to make the cover for the back. And here you can see I'm less picky about which side really gets used. The only thing is this frog is on there. And I can actually, look at this, that's perfect. I can make just one cut and use that for the back, and I think that that's what I'm gonna do. So I've cut down my master board to a front cover, a back cover. I have really only like this much left. I should have another piece left. Oh, here it is. So I have these pieces left of my masterboard, so that's not bad. The rest of this I'm going to use for my cover, so I can set those aside, and I can make tags or belly bands or whatnot out of those. And this will be my front cover and my back cover. And here is one of my covers. And I have two, a front and a back cover, that are the same size. Great. Okay, so I am going to put this on. So this covers all of this. This is already like a double layer of this. So that will cover this. I could cover this with some fabric or something before, or paper, or just some copy paper or something, but I don't need to do that for this. So I'm just gonna glue this on. So I just need my glue, and I'm gonna use a brush to apply that onto here. And I try to be neat and not get it all over my desk space, because I don't like getting it all over my desk space. Because if you get glue on the desk space, then it gets onto your cover, and then I always wind up with glue on the front of my cover. So I just try and keep it on here. Okay. So I have both of these. This is a soft gel. I think that both of these will work. I'm going to use this gloss medium in varnish. I just really like the finish that this gives. And I am going to mix that with my glue right now and just use the same brush. I'm just going to put that on that way. And what I really want to make sure is if I have any bubbles or pockets or anything where I did not glue these pages together well, I want this to really take care of that now. So like this was coming up. This is like just a thin piece of paper. I'm going to glue that down so that will now be a permanent part of this for sure. Yes, so the next step for me is to dry this either with my heat gun or just letting this sit and go. While I'm doing that, so these are dry. They didn't take very long to dry. I just let them air dry while I was doing other things. I am not going to bind this the way that I thought I was going to bind this, so I'm going to have to think of another way. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to finish gluing the edges down to my covers, and then I'm probably going to step away and figure out what I'm doing. But let's finish this. And so the way I like to do this, I mean, you can kind of cut off a little bit of this, but what I generally do is, maybe I want to get this first, is what I generally do, is I like to just fold these down like this, but I do like to make all my folds before I go putting glue all over everything, now that I've already put glue all over everything over there, just to make life a little bit easier on me when I get to the part where I'm ready to do this. I just kind of want these things to be trained to go where I want them to go. Hopefully, you know, the Ember Wild is not going to get in the way here of the crafting fury. Don't step in the glue. That's your tail. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Okay, I will move over and let you have your space. Okay, she insists. So let's do this edge. I should have taken her downstairs before I started this. Again, I have been downstairs. In the meantime, oops, I gooped that. Okay. So I'm just folding these down, and I'm going to work them down with my bone folder, just kind of making that crease strong, getting right into my glue with my bone folder, which is exactly maybe what I didn't want to do, but hey. Love, 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 love the finish of this varnish. If you don't have this, you could use decoupage, or you could probably use Elmer's glue. It would also give you a varnishy finish and also help you to seal down all the edges on your papers. My covers, because it's like paper glued onto paper, they are just a little bit bubbly right now. Just a little bit. Question is, let's work this down so we can just get that kind of seated and in place. So it's probably what I am going to do with this, maybe. Having to decide, I'll probably do a fabric binding on this instead. I haven't quite decided, and I should have done this corner first. My goodness, I'm acting like I've never done this before. Here I'm trying to show you how to do it. Too many things at once, perhaps. Just gonna squish that around. There's not enough glue on that edge. Okay, this is now you don't do it, so don't pay attention to that. I'm too busy trying to figure out what I'm doing next to pay attention to what I'm doing right now, which is really not where I want to be. I really do love this paper. It came out so pretty. It's just very, I think it's a stencil, right? Okay, I'm working that down. This is not going to be terribly perfect. I might go ahead and just do a regular old binding. Well, I'm probably going to wind up doing something that I haven't done before, just because I don't know that I've ever quite done anything like this. I was thinking, I mean, like if I wanted to do something that I do all of the time, which is kind of a cool thing because I couldn't say this last year, but since, you know, I spent a good part of last year sewing these like little tiny notebooks and doing a Coptic stitch, I had kind of thought about doing a Coptic stitch for this because I like the idea of having an open binding. But it's not really what I want to do. So then the question becomes, what do I want to do? And do I want to do like a fabric spine? Which is kind of what I think I want to do, maybe. Very indecisive at this particular time. Okay, so I'm just working down all of these edges one by one, and that's kind of loose. See if I can and get a little bit of glue. I think it would go underneath there. It doesn't make a lot of sense why I would think it would go underneath there. Well, that's exactly what I thought, was that that was going to go underneath. Okay. So usually I would... Okay. This is what I'm trying to do this year. I'm trying to produce high quality videos that are not quite so scatterbrained, you know? If I'm showing you something, I want to show you what I'm doing. And I'm like talking about 6 steps from now what I might be doing instead, which always burns me because I talk to you and I tell you I'm going to do all these things and I can obviously not do them all. And sometimes I change my mind and then I'm stuck with a video that says I'm going to do something and then I don't. So what I do is apply this and then I like to brush it out with the brush to get a nice even coverage. This should be stuck down to the cover, but it's not, so I'm trying to get a little bit there. And I'm brushing that away from the edge to get it all the way. Okay. And I've already folded this up and kind of training it to go into its place so that when we get it there and you get these really nice, really beautiful mitered corners. And this isn't really super thick, even though it's like a piece of packing paper. The packing paper I had this masterboard on was really kind of thin. And then it's just got a piece of like book page, or I think it's just like this green. It's just a jelly print on regular copy paper. So it's not like super thick. If I was doing this with cardstock, I might have to think about this and it would be very deep. But this is laying down really nicely. And so now I can kind of go on this side, and I have already trained this. I'm going to add just a touch more glue onto there. And I'm going to spread this around with my handy dandy paintbrush. I frequently use this for gluing stuff, so, and using different media and stuff, like varnish and whatnot. So it's okay. Okay, I'm going to glue that down really nice because it's kind of coming up. And then is what you want to do is start in the middle. Yes, stick that down. And see how it goes. And then you can get your bone folder and just kind of give it one little bit more nudge. And really go over it, make sure it's stuck down, and that's that. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and when I'm paying attention, I think that that looks fantastic. Okay, so this is a little bubbly over here, and I think that's just the way it's going to be. I really like how it's got like so many different colors in it. Really love this. So there's that, and now I will put that aside, and I'm going to do the next one. I think that looks fun. See how shiny that is? It just feels really cool, like how that is like just one piece now, and it still has different texture, but it's got all these different things going on. I love it. Love it, love it. Okay, so that is what our book is going to look like. It's got nice, kind of a little bit rounded corners because of the way, that's why I like to do the corners like that and fold them over at the 45-degree angle rather than mitering them, because sometimes they get really pointy, and this is how I like to do it. I have seen somebody cut them off and then smash it down with like the corner of your, which gives it, I mean, that gives it a really nice, rounded corner. And you don't have to hit it too hard to get it to do it. And it just rounds that out really nicely. Okay. See, it's still kind of like not super round. And when you do that, it just kind of rounds it out and makes it really, really like a nice finished edge. Okay. So those are our covers. I kind of love it. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking, because this is the mood that I am in. I actually got a couple of... The thing I'm hesitant about is I would kind of like to use a padded envelope kind of a thing, and I got a couple of paper ones today actually. But I just think that adding that kind of, I think that would add a lot of strength to my, I think that would add a lot of strength to my spine, but also it would add a lot of bulk, like right in here where it's glued on, and I just feel like that might cause it to not, I don't know, book very well somehow, or glue my cover onto it very well. So I have this piece of, I'm leaning towards wanting to use one of these coffee filters, and you could use like a piece of fabric, I think would be kind of the same thing. This I want to add to give it like some durability and whatnot. I'm going to go get one that I haven't already dyed with. I just used some distressings on this. I think I just used the rustic wilderness, that's green, crackling campfire on this, and it has all this orange in it. It was probably distress oxide. It's, I think, what I did there, and it was wet, and it kind of spread out all over the place, which is cool. I'm gonna go see if I can find some coffee filters. I know I can, because I usually have them all over the place. I didn't think they've made their way up here, or if they have, I'm not really sure where I put them, but I can go get some from downstairs, because I also like to put them on my sewing machine. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to put some of that on here, and then I'm going to have this paper, and this has kind of just a continuation of what I was doing with dye earlier. And so I'm going to fold this up, and this paper has these spots where it looks like it was folded, but it wasn't. It's just kind of the wear on the paper. And I'm folding along those because what I'm thinking is that it would be fun to kind of enhance that, right? Make it look more like it's folded and more like it's, and then I think I'm going to get my sanding block and kind of go ahead and sand over that, because, right? And what I really want to go for is aging this. I almost kind of feel like maybe just crumpling this whole thing up too, because what I want, for whatever reason tonight, I just want to mess with this paper. I want to age it. I want it to look like it's been through some stuff. Sorry, I'm leaning close to you now. I wonder if I can just do this. There where it's folded, it's definitely catching it, and that's much faster than, yeah, let's give this paper a hard time, and I think it'll make it feel, I mean, I want to make it feel like it's been softened, like it's, you know, a pair of old blue jeans. That would be fun to make a journal out of a pair of like your favorite old blue jeans that maybe you just can't wear anymore, but they're nice and soft. and Tammy, and we still hang out with them a while longer. You know what I mean? Your favorite shirt? Okay. Oh, I probably shouldn't do this on my... I need like a throwaway desktop. That's what I need. Okay. How's that? Does that, I mean, make it look... Ooh, yeah. Okay. Even now, I mean, this just feels better, you know? Before it was kind of stiff and rigid, which was kind of weird for this piece that's got these actual, like, lines where it's aged. I'm just trying to decide if, like, what have I done? Okay. Yeah, I like this a lot, and is what I was thinking. It would be fun to even tear some holes in this, okay, guys? What if we tore some holes and went so far as to just really kind of enhance and continue to distress this paper? Now, I have this paper and it was telling me to do this because it already had the lines, right? And I'm just kind of enhancing something that was already there. But you could certainly do this with like a brand new print that doesn't already have the distress marks. And you could certainly, I mean, fold it up into like playing card sizes, or maybe you could try triangles or something like that. You could do that too, right? And I'm just going to kind of mess with this a little bit. And now I've got a problem, right? Because I've got these things, and these are going to be in the spine of my book where it's going to need to move and stuff. So we'll figure that out. But I think this is what we're going to go with. I think it's going to be cool. I'm just going to put 2 maybe. Okay. Okay, so I have these tags now that I've kind of just continued to distress, and I'll probably go back and hit a lot of this with, because my book is kind of like a brown tones, I'm probably going to use some vintage photo, which I like anyway, you know. So I like this because we can put something behind this. So what I'm going to do is probably, I don't know where I put my masterboard now. Let me pull it back out here and show you. So I have all these stamped images, and they're stamped in black, and I love this. Okay, I love how this like tissue paper looks with the stamped images, and this is not the first time that I've stamped black onto this, and just really loved how that looks. I like the color combination. So I'm probably going to cut this up and make it into snippet strips, and I might do that on my live on Tuesday and just have that be a thing that I do. Okay, because it's already got this. The only thing is that when I do that, I'm probably going to want to sew that and on my sewing machine, and obviously I'm not going to do that on a live. But I could continue to decorate that. Let me go and get a coffee filter, because I don't... Well, hold up. Hold the phone. So what I'm thinking is, now I have this, and I can't use this as the spine of my book like this because there's holes in it and whatnot, but I want this to be like on the outside because I love how this paper looks with this, right? And so I I guess I might want to start by cutting this to the right size, and I want to cut this so it's just a little bit, I think, or maybe even a little bit less, like maybe a half an inch or something. Probably a half an inch smaller than my spine for reasons. And this is way wider than I need, which is going to be fine because it's going to allow some overlap. And what I'm going for is a spine that's like not super thick and bulky, but strong. So I could add, I mean, like if you were doing this, be perfect to put like a layer or two of fabric in there. I think would be a really kind of a great way to go. And this I'm not worried about because honestly, this paper has become really and truly just kind of a decorative element. It's not going to be really holding anything together at this point. Look at that. Look at that. What do you think of that? What if we made that the width of the book? Okay, I like that idea. That wasn't really what I was going to do, but that might be what we do because I think that was about what we wanted. I can do it a little bit wider if we wanted. Yeah, I think I want that a little bit wider anyway, because the whole point of doing this was I wanted a fairly wide spine for her. But what if I fold this now a little bit bigger? And again, I mean, I just want this to cover the spine of my book. So I like that too. Okay. I want this to cover the spine of my book. That's wide, right? That's wide. We're gonna see. This is an idea book, but it's also a wild experiment. Now, what I'm seeing is that we did not rip that quite as much as we wanted to. So, again, I don't need this to be perfect, but I want to know that I can just kind of rip it like right along here. And that is what that's going to do is it's going to allow me, if I go with the fabric or whatever behind here, it's going to have a little bit of a border. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And I want this to be a little bit harder, but I want whatever material I'm using back here, which is going to be this tissue paper and maybe something else and maybe something else, to kind of peek through. And again, keep in mind that we're not making this be, this paper is not super important to the structure of the book. Look at this. I have this from when I was playing, and we could have an eye peeking out of there. I actually kind of love that. It's just an eye. Okay, well, that could be super fun. We could put something even fun. I made this the other day. Okay. So many ideas. We could do so many things. You could do anything. Like, think about this. You could have, like, sitting on the, like, bookcase. There's this eye peering out at you. Although, maybe not, because, like, I am going to sew through this, and this looks like it's going to be, maybe not. You could have some stitching going right through the eye, which might be disturbing. More disturbing than just having an eye peeking out of the book at you, maybe. I don't know what disturbs you. Okay. So, this is tissue paper. I have a lot of this, which is great because I love this tissue paper. And depending on what I have put it on, it looks like a lot of different things. Okay, let's throw all that over there. Let's make a new work surface that's flat and maybe has some stuff for stamping on underneath it. So, because I'm gonna layer this underneath these holes. I don't need anything that's super big, right? I need something that's like relatively small. So I have this out already, and that's what I'm gonna use. And it's just this pretty little branch. And I'm gonna use my Ranger archival ink here to stamp a piece that's roughly the size of my spine. All right, let's look and see where we're at, because honestly, it's been a day has gone by, and I didn't do anything on Friday. I kind of took it off. So here I'm at with my spine. So I have my book with the signatures and the covers. Okay. And this is all as new to me as it is to you. Okay, so there's the covers, and we could do, well, anyway, we could do any number of things. So I have, what did I do with this? So I have this paper that I had prepared, right? And I've glued down these edges where I've torn these edges, and remember of course you remember, you just saw this is new to me. So what I have done is, here's how I assembled the spine, and I think this is going to give me a robust enough spine that I can sew my signatures right onto this, and it's going to be big. So this will be one fold. So what I did is I layered this. So what I did is I had this tissue paper, and I need to cut this away before I can assemble this. But I had this tissue paper, right, and I had stamped it, and I was going to layer it underneath this the other way. But I've added this as kind of the inside cover. And in between, I have put 2 layered coffee filters, and they're folded together. So there's one at the top and one at the bottom, and they're folded in half, as you can see here, and then layered together with their parts, just to give this some structure to hold all of that together. So I have this nice spine, which should be, while none of these parts is going to be super strong by itself, I think together it's going to give me quite a bit of structure. And it is kind of grungy, so I kind of left it ripped. And then I just sewed around all of that. I sewed here first because I wanted to make sure that these bits kind of got sewn down and stabilized so they wouldn't get ripped off later. And I love this eye, and it'll be like that once this is done. And then I just sewed kind of a meandering stitch all the way across here until I ran out of thread, which you can see are now these little dots of where it was. And I kind of think that adds to it, so I'm going to leave it because it's there now. My bobbin ran out of thread and I wasn't paying attention, and I knew it was going to, and I should have refilled the bobbin, but it was kind of middle of the night. So I'm going to tear this down. So all of this, my reasoning here, what I'm thinking about as I'm doing this is, and I did double this as well. So just to add a little bit, and it's kind of got almost this kind of cool quilted feeling to it. I love this paper This tissue paper with black ink on it is just gorgeous. I love it. And this is going to be inside the spine of the book where the signatures are covering this, so you'll only see where it peeks through between the signatures. And this, I might actually just go ahead and cut this piece here. So really, basically all I need to do here is what's left. So I'm going to attach this to my book here. It'll be like this. And I think I'm going to make that, I think we can make it, I suppose we could even make this come out just a little bit if we want this to have even more space. So then this will attach here, and I'm just going to glue this on, right? And so the book will be like this big. And what's going to happen with these signatures once we put them inside here is the signatures are going to kind of curve in, so you can see the ones that'll be here, these will curve in, so this middle signature should come further in, and then as we build the book, it'll all get pushed out to the edge, right? It'll all kind of be pushed to the edge more. So we're giving a lot of room for that to kind of grow and expand as we put more and more and more things into these signatures, and they take up more and more and more space. How can we show that? Well, I can just grab some book pages and stuff in there. So you can see as we take up more space within this book, we'll be going from here, where everything is, I'm doing this for my own edification here, because this is like an almost 3-inch spine. And we'll be going from here to, as we add more things, slide there. It would be easier if I had assembled it, to like here where whoop 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 there. Okay, so now we've added a lot of things, and you can see that this is taking, it's coming closer to the edge of the covers, and everything is gonna be fine. So that's the idea behind this, being able to grow. Okay, and otherwise it's gonna just kind of, the cover's gonna kind of go out that way before this book is fully matured into what it wants to become. So what I'm gonna do is I need to glue this onto the cover, and then put down some cover sheets here and here to finish this out. And when I do that, see, look at, this is the widest spine I think I've ever done. And I've done some pretty massive spines, but this is a soft spine. So we shall see. This is all very experimental, and you can see I've left it kind of some space there. And that's okay, because we'll just cover this with some beautiful something or other, and it's all gonna be great. So let's get that going and figure out what we need to do here. And I might cover this with some fabric. I'm not really sure. I haven't decided yet. Is that going to be a problem if we do it like that because that's where I want it to fold, right? The other thing I was going to do before I start doing that, hold on. I wanted to see, I want to probably ink this a little bit just on here, because you can see that my cover is kind of in this brown tone, but it also has the black, and I kind of want to mirror that here. So I think I'm going to ink this, and I suppose that I'll probably see if I can find my vintage photo and my walnut stain to do that. And I might, you can always start here on this part that is going to be covered. And then move over a little bit more. And I'm just adding a little bit of, and again, I might not want to do this everywhere, and I'm just going direct to paper for this. And this is a vintage photo, because I like that. And you could also, if you wanted to kind of, I've also thought about, you know, I could fleck this with some paint or something, but I might just leave it like that. I think that's good. I think that adds a little bit. I know it's maybe a little bit hard for you to see. It's maybe a little bit hard for me to see, but, well, it's not hard for me to see. I can see this. I like it. I think it looks great the way that it is. I love this eye. The eye is making it for me. Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can fix this. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, you know, I have a very large screen over there that I look at all of the time, but I had it only in one, on about a quarter of my screen, and I'm complaining that I can't see. So, I'm ready to move on. Is this finished? I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, this is finished for me. I think is what I'm going to do is maybe trim this to the edges, and I'm going to trim this to the edges and then glue all of these layers, like I said, together. I guess they're sewn together, right? They are sewn together, so I guess I don't need to do that. I'm afraid that if I leave all of these different layers that are loose on the ends, that I'm not going to get a good, that I'm going to have too much movement in here once I get this all sewn together or glued in. I realize that I am building this book in kind of a way where I'm just making one decision at a time, and I haven't really decided as of yet what I'm going to do with the cover sheets for this, but I am going to glue this down just to be really and I'm eyeballing this for sure where I want this to be. I'm not going to measure it. I think that's going to be fine. It's not like, I mean, this is a art project of the sort that I have not figured it all out. I'm just doing the next intuitive step. working on intuition here. I am sure that I have plenty of items at this point that I can use to cover this and finish this today. Okay, that I think will work. Okay, so now is what I do want to do is I really do want my top and my bottom cover to align properly. So I am going to line these up on this measuring board, and I will check the bottom and the top, and this is already down, so I'm just lining these up on the line at the top, and assuming that is going to make these straight. I don't think this is completely straight because this is like here and here, but here it's kind of dipped in, so I think that's fine. I'm going to scooch that over just a scooch, scooch, okay, and we'll make sure. Okay, so what I'm doing, what I did on this side without really talking about it, is I laid this like this, okay, and then I'm going to glue, and then I'm just going to flip that over on the top. That's what I did on this side, and the idea being is that I want to have this fold just slightly outside the cover when I'm done, and I think that that is going to do that for me. And if I line this up correctly, the top and the bottom should align when I get my book, so I don't have the covers cattywampus. Put it down just a skosh. Although I don't think they're like perfectly straight either, as I am doing this. So there's that. And I want, probably gonna need more glue, but there's also a good amount on here already. Hopefully this will all stick at the end of the day, and I'm just using this as a guide for where to put my glue out to right now. And if I go a little too far out, that's okay, because we're going to cover all of that up at the end of the day, but I do want it to stick on that edge, and I don't want to have to necessarily come back and fix it, but I can. Okay, so did we move anything? Yes, I think we probably moved everything. While we were attempting to glue, we should have a minute, depending on how thick this is, of course. Okay. Did we do it? Were we fast enough? Did we get it stuck while it was still sticky? I don't know. Okay. Did we glue everything so that it's right side up? These are all very valid questions. Let's trim that. Very valid questions. Okay. I am super excited to have this book together. Okay, there is that. So we want to check here and see. So I do have, it's a little bit more at the top. It's not completely straight, and it's just going to have to lift like that. Handmade objects, right? And this one looks pretty good, and I think this one is also slightly a little bit more. And then if we look at it like this, I think this will work. I think this will work. I like it. Okay, now, all right, so I think I'm going to use this piece of cardstock to do this. And I think because it matches the signatures. I mean, it's a very neutral thing, so it's not like, it's just a very neutral thing. And like I was saying, I will probably cover this up with envelopes and pockets and things of that nature once I get into this book. So the question is this is pretty much the perfect size here. So what do I think about kind of tucking this into these layers and just doing that? And I think that is precisely what I want to do. And the way I'm going to do it is, and normally I would cover this. Normally I would cover all of this, but hey, today I'm doing this. And I'm just going to mark this where I want to cut it. And I'm just going to tear this with a ruler. This is happening. Okay. And there we go. We have that. We can burnish it down with maybe like our bone folder to get it all nice and stuck down. And that is, the cover is done. We can move on to sewing in our pages. All right, my friends, we are almost there. Are you ready for this? So we are going to bind this together. And so we have just glued our book together. And now what I want to do is, I think I'm going to do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch to glue. No more gluing. Gluing is over. We are sewing and measuring, the fun parts. So a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So I need to decide where I want my 5-hole pamphlets, and this is going to be slightly difficult because is what I'm seeing is like down here on the bottom of this, you see? We don't have as many layers because apparently I did not get my coffee filter in there until somewhere later. Where are you? Without tearing this up too much. So I don't necessarily want to like trust that. And why am I only noticing this now? That's a problem, right? Okay, so it's right there. Okay, so we want to measure this binding maybe starting from here. So I'm kind of working on the fly here, and that's gonna throw this off on the outside of this book. And the fact that this book looks like it was assembled, I do love this. Okay, I really do like this book so far. I am super excited. So let's not mess it up now. So I have my handy dandy ruler here, and it does have a 0 in the middle here. And so what I'm going to do, because remember, I think this is actually, oh, it's exactly, oh, we have 3 inches here. Okay, that kind of helps us, I think, right? Because we can just measure 1.5 inches in here from this edge and make a mark down here, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a line and a line and a line. I have 5 signatures. Let's count and just confirm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 signatures. So I want to make 5 lines, and I want them to be evenly spaced. So we know one's going to be in the middle at right there, 1 and 1/2. And so I can just go ahead and mark that off, and I should be aligned here. And I'm going to do that all the way down. And I'm just going to make this, and the signature is going to be sitting right on top of this line, so we don't have to worry about this being seen later. Okay, can we see that? I can see that. Okay, so then I went away, I thought about this. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. It took a second to convince myself, and I think I am convinced. And let's get rid of this big old black marker. So because we have 3 inches and we have 5 signatures, but we want them to be spread out evenly, that's going to give us a space here, signature, a space here, signature, a space, signature. So that's the first 3, and we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So we have 6 spaces. 3 inches divided by 6 spaces, which is the number of signatures plus 1, gives us 6 spaces between the signatures, including the front and the back. So we can mark this at every 1/2 inch, because we have, and that will give us, and that, my friends, will give us an easy way to figure this out. Okay, it took me a minute, but I thought about it, and that is what we are doing. So I'm just going to mark this at 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch, and I'm going to draw my lines much as I did over there. And so, yes, easy, as I was saying. Okay, now if I could only see where I drew my first line atop here. Can't see those lines. Oh, they're way up there. Okay, I do see them now. Maybe I should use the big bold marker. As I just said, I mean, this is going to be covered, so it doesn't really matter to us anyway, does it? Okay, hopefully this is all going to work. Now, we are confident that if all of this doesn't work, we might lose some work that we like really loved, but hey, that's right in there. So hopefully we can get this relatively straight. Just really can't see that at all, can we? No, sirree. Why? Why is it disappearing? I mean, it's right there. I can see it now. Yikes. Okay, and so this one right there and right there, and I am on top of this, so that's going to be kind of a little bit of a problem because I'm sitting on top of all of that, so I'm trying to go straight up and down with my pencil. Okay, I think that one's a little bit off. Tret. Did I line these up right? We have no idea. This could be very, very off. Okay, so we've split our 3 inches into 6 equal sections, and our signatures will live on these lines. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 lines for our signatures to live on. Great. So now, this is how I always do this because I think it's a little bit easier. So I could make a, the true and proper way, I guess, to do this would be really to go ahead and make a template, but I just use my first signature as a template when I poke my holes, okay? That's all I'm gonna do. Or I take one page out of my signature and use it, but that's okay. So I'm doing a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So I need 5 holes. Figure that should be pretty simple. Okay. So these are going to kind of show on the top and the bottom, and that is kind of what I'm going for. What I generally do is I generally just eyeball this. However, I am going to measure this a little more, because here's why. Because I would normally just come in like an inch or so, but I want to make sure that I have these. I'm probably going to put these a little bit more in to here, just because of the binding is short, the spine is short from my book. So I do want to kind of measure and make sure that I am getting this exactly where it's going to line up and where I want it. I have my awl right here. And so what you can do is go ahead and mark this using your ruler instead of just eyeballing. And again, I have 5 holes to punch, so it's gonna be split between the entire 8 inches of my ruler. I think will work. I think that should work. So of course the middle is going to be at 0. And the only thing I'm concerned about is whether or not that's going to be far enough in at the bottom. But 0 is, I think, going to be 0 either way. And I should have been paying more attention to this. And here I am going to go ahead and just mark that with this Sharpie. That is dead center. If I line that up there and there, and I can go ahead and do that. You can So how far do I actually have? I have about probably 3.5 inches. I could go 3 again. If I go 3 again, I could just go so let's go at 3. Because that'll be an inch in, and then we can just go at 1/2, and that should work. Okay. So we're gonna go at 3 and then 1/2, and I like that. I think that'll be perfectly acceptable. So I'm lining this up on my line, and I'm just gonna make a hone. I want to make sure that I get it on that line and on that line, and that will give me that, and it'll be like an inch in from here, and I mean an inch in here from here, but it's like actually closer, but that's what I wanted. So and then I can just go ahead and make these lines, and everything should be getting pretty easy from here. I feel like I can just let's make that a little bit darker. I feel like it's easier, honestly, just a little bit to actually do this by eyeball. Well, it's obviously a lot easier to do this by just eyeballing this. And we shall see if I manage to get this straight with all this monkeying around. Because that feels slightly off to me now when I try to align this with all of my lines going across. You can see that that is already beginning to drift. So, depending on how crazy you want to be about this, you can either measure, or you can just do it. I have definitely, I think, measured on books and then had it come out crooked. Because if you're off, you're off. And I feel like if you're doing it by eyeball, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And I feel like if you're doing it by eyeball, you'll just self-correct. But if you're doing it by punching holes, then and doing all this measuring, then you might not. So now I am, I think, going to go ahead and just measure off of here where I want to punch my holes. And this is the one that I've already taken. This should all be lined up. So I can just transfer these marks right into my signature, and I am lining it up carefully at the top and the bottom to make sure that when I put my holes, that's going to land me right in the middle of there. So I'm going to do the first signature, and part of the reason I do this is because I really don't like doing it from the outside. I like to do it from the inside. But this one I'm going to do this way, and I am going to just fold this to make it like I'm punching from the inside. And there we go. I am sorry, I cut my finger yesterday, and I have this big ugly band-aid on, which I can maybe take off. I don't know how I cut my finger, but I did. It's not terrible, but you know, the band-aid is making me feel better about things. Okay. Love this butterfly paper. I wonder if I have any more. I had 4 sheets of all of these in this paper pack. It was massive. And so I kind of make books like this if I just want to make a book and I don't have an actual theme. So I use these a lot. So I'm going to just use this as the template to do all of mine, so hopefully that one's right, because if that one's not right, they're all gonna be wrong. Okay. Punching holes. So I'm just gonna continue to punch the holes in each one of my signatures by aligning it with this first signature, and then okay, and that is quite everything's lining up, everything's down there. We're gonna go ahead and go right straight through, and is what I do is I put it right into where that hole is, and then I push this down, and it's gonna be forced to go right through the crease in that spine, all the way through all of the pages. Okay. And we have plenty of room. We're gonna have so much room in the spine to fill this book up. These are gonna be like half an inch apart on these signatures. That's just so much room to pack this book. It's gonna be super flat to begin with, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have filled it with like lots of wonderful ideas. So I'm just gonna continue sewing this in the same way. Okay, I might try one more explanation and just show you this for real this time while I'm like, now that I've done it. And that's kind of a thing, is that like once you've really practiced something, that's when we get through it. So I'm going to start in the center of this signature, and I've poked my holes. So I have 5 holes, and I'm going to start in the center. Okay, and I'm going from the back to the front of the book. And so I'm going to go into this hole right here. And then you can go to the top or the bottom. And I'm going to go to the top because I kind of always go to the top. But maybe you are a person who always goes to the bottom. So now I'm going to go to this middle hole between the middle and the top. And I'm going to go through that same hole, obviously, in my signature, and it's gonna work. The other one worked so nicely. This was the one that was messed up though. I don't usually have to do this, but I don't think that I had those signatures quite like tapped down into the center is I think what went horribly wrong on the signature, honestly. So maybe if I try and do that at this point, hopefully the signature is not too wonkety. Okay, and then I go in through, I'm going back into the top hole, into the top hole on this spine. Okay, great. Now I come back through the second hole from the top to the top and the bottom. We're trying to avoid going through our thread, of course, because that just makes everything not quite right. Now, I think we want to go to this hole here, is what I think I want to do. Go from this to this other center hole, okay? And skip the middle hole for right now. I didn't do this on the last one, and it came out wrong, okay? And I kind of just made it up. So I'm pulling this tight, and I can always do that when I get back. Okay, now from this fourth hole, I'm going to go into this bottom hole. Hopefully this lines up, and it does. I don't know why. Okay, this one's way off. That might have to be fixed. Okay, and now I'm going to go back in, and you can see that I'm sewing just kind of up and down, up and down. That one seems kind of loose at the top. Okay, there you go. Okay, let's just pull that tight, and then I am going to go back into the very center hole, back into my signature, and I want this to eventually land on the other side of this thread here. And usually is what I do is I try to pull that down and then stick that through there, so hopefully I miss that thread, if that makes sense. So I'm sewing away from it. Okay, so now I noticed that this was still kind of a little bit loose up here, so I want to tighten these and just make sure this is nice and snug before I tie it off. And I want to be careful to not rip my pages, not too snug. Just snug enough. Okay. There we go. Now it's getting tighter. Okay. Doesn't want to pull. And this is exactly why. I'm gonna have to go back and fix this because it is caught through there. Okay, this one has been a disaster. I think it's actually caught there too. We split the thread, which is the thing we did not want to do, because then we can't get it to work. Okay, this is fine. This was problem after problem after problem. Okay. Don't split your threads. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this, kind of pointing that away from there. I think we might be better off. Okay. So now I have gone back and repaired this without snagging my things. And let's just make sure that we're happy. That's way loose. Okay. Too loose, too loose. Okay. Too loose, too loose. That's okay. That just needs to be pulled tight there. Okay. Is everybody fine now? Is everybody happy? I feel like this is looser than I want it to be. There you go. Just pull everybody until it's all tight. Check it. I just kind of like roll it a little bit to see. Rolling, rolling. That feels good. That feels good. Okay, it's nice and tight. Nice and tight. I do like the idea. This is going to be such a cute book. I did put a lot of time and effort into making sure the signatures are pretty, even though this page is just like a coffee dyed page, but I did add some like stamping to it to give it a little bit of something. Okay, let's get rid of those. Just taking our time. This is slow crafting, guys. Slow crafting. So there we go. This book is done. I have sewn in the last signature, and it's also the first signature. So I have kind of come around full circle on this journal. So what do we have? I have not even looked at it yet. How does our book look? That looks like it needs to be kind of. We have this journal, and as you can see, or maybe not see, there is a lot of room in this book. I think we got these from here. They look pretty evenly spaced. They are kind of gapping here a little bit, but that's just because the folds are what they are. I love the spine of this book. Let's look at it. What do you guys think? I got these pretty straight. What I don't like, honestly, is the way that these kind of gape, or because I punched the hole from the inside to the outside, you can kind of see that, and I should have done it the other way around. But that's okay. Love that. I love the eye, even though this signature is sewn straight through the center of it. I love that there's kind of this, it looks kind of a little tattered. It does look a little tattered, and I like that. This is a 3-inch spine, guys, that we have made. That maybe needs to be glued a little bit better. This was wonderful. I was just sitting here thinking about how this year I really want to make my crafting kind of relaxing. I don't want my crafting to be done in this way of I have to do the most efficient thing possible. I think that that's okay. And I think we all know how to multitask, and we all know how to do those kinds of things. And I think you need to be able to kind of turn that off as well and just relax and make something for the sake of making something beautiful without necessarily having it be done in the most efficient way possible so you can get the most things done. You know, just let it be, let it happen, let it, you know, set aside enough time, but not worry about how much time is this going to take. You can always come back to it, because that's what I've done with this book. I've had to come back to it and come back to it and come back to it, and I didn't get it done on time. And that is, you know, I want that to be okay in my crafting. I want it to be okay for it to not get done on time, because this is what I'm doing to relax. This is what I'm doing to create. And I want to leave those kinds of ideas at the door and not have them. I want to be in a space where I feel like I can do that. So I've done that, and I'm going to let you go. Please be sure to like, subscribe. It would be great if you know somebody who you think might enjoy this video. Hit the share button. I would love to have more friends kind of added to the community. So I'm going to leave you here. And I will next time come back and start putting things into this book. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I might do that during my lives, because I feel like that is kind of a way to go. But I have my idea book for probably the next year. This thing needs to be filled with wonderful things and ideas that I can come back to, and just, I want to have a book that's kind of just a fun junk journal book that's filled with lots of decorating and not having necessarily spaces left for journaling. I have lots of journals that I can work in, and maybe this will become a place where I can just put things that can be said without words, ideas, not ideas for junk journal pockets and fun things. So it's a little artsy. It's a lot more artsy than I thought it was going to be. That's okay. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Until then, stitch scrappily and scrap happily. Bye! Oh, what fun to make a book. What did I decide? Just a tiny skosh more glue in there.